to Lovecraft, they dish the facts. Lightsabers clash and case on their backs. Xenomorphs lurking, Gotham's dark alleys. With every episode, the fandom rallies. The first to last, the Nerdom with Mike and Tom. Dropping nerd knowledge like an atom bomb. Discussing the cosmic, the scary, the epic. Tune in, strap in, it's all real, authentic. Galaxies far, far, horrors, chilling lore. From Krypton to Hogwarts, always explored. Panels and pages, heroes and stages. Worlds colliding, they know all the phases. Wicked X-Wings and Del X that scream. Phantom zones and vampire dreams. Multiverse open and ready to storm. Mike and Tom in the lab, setting the norm.
What's up, nerditos, whorehounds, and brave souls? Welcome back to another episode of the FirstLastNerdom. Tonight is not just another episode, it's the final round of our Terrifier challenge, the moment we've been building towards for weeks. Now, if you've been following along, you know this journey has been a real roller coaster for Mike. He went into the first Terrifier pretty lukewarm, not exactly blown away by Art the Clown's twisted antics, but then Terrifier 2 came along, bigger, bloodier, and somehow even weirder, and it actually started to win him over. We saw a spark, a tiny bloody spark of fandom growing inside him. But tonight is the true test. Mike is gearing up to face Terrifier 3, and the biggest question hanging over us all, will he make it through? Will he embrace the madness? Or will Art finally push him over the edge and break his spirit once and for all? We've got snacks, we've got the vomit bags ready, and honestly, we might need them. Because if you've heard anything about Terrifier 3, you know this isn't just another slasher sequel. It's bigger, badder, and somehow even more insane than what came before. So settle in, because tonight we're witnessing either the birth of a full-blown Terrifier fan or the spectacular defeat of one of the very brave nerd. Either way, it's going to be a hell of a show. This is the First, the Last, the Nerdom, and I'm Tom. And coming on board is Mike. I don't know, trepidatious maybe? I don't know. Oh, wasn't that boring, was it? It's a little long. Oh, you're
no,
also
I was gonna say no. I was trying to come in.
You
like
lost your voice.
I was like trying to come in like I was dead or something. But anyway, it didn't work out. Obviously, I won't quit my day job as I am not an actor. But yeah, no, wonderful intro, Tom. Yeah, so we're here, the latest and greatest.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know if we'd make it.
I gotta say, like the first one, I could appreciate aspects of it, but I think I liked it more than I didn't, you know. And then the second one sold me because there was so much more there that you're working with on such a bizarre level. And then this one came through, and I didn't think that each one could kind of top it, but yet progress the storyline in a way, and somehow it manages to do that.
Yeah, and it's odd because most slasher movies, most sequels, any franchise, you're dealing with diminishing returns. Because the first one comes out of the gate huge, and then the second, the third, they get maybe the story isn't quite there, the audience isn't quite there. But with this one, much like the rise of, say, some of the Marvel stuff, they just build. The first one was somewhat of a success. The second one was even bigger of a success, to the point where this latest one, they didn't have to they got to quit their day jobs. Well, they did that with the second one, but they really got to get a full studio, a full crew to do it, and had the money to spend and make it just exactly the way they want. And the box office keeps getting bigger and bigger. I think this one was close to 100 million that they made. I think it was around 90 million.
Yeah, that's what I had read. Yeah, that's what, from the thing. Yeah, it just it's expanded the mythology, and especially from the practical effects, like that were practically none in the first one, to what you get, the full bells and whistles and a full storyline through the box office, like that. To the third one did even better. as you mentioned before, but like just crazy.
Absolutely, and it's all pretty much word of mouth because they didn't spend a huge amount of money on advertising because I don't think they had it. So the way I've heard about it was from podcasts much like ours and
Right.
other things as well. And I think that's what really makes a success these days is as far as independent stuff and smaller movies. I know. Our podcast friend that visited us a few times was recommending Sinners, and that one's been getting a lot of word of mouth too. So yeah, it's those little movies that really really are the
Well,
exciting things.
and when you're there with your friends and somebody hears about something, you're more likely to just go with the flow. I mean that's kind of the whole point of your friends dragging it. But yeah, we had that little private discussion on the back end in our weekly, our day-to-day weekly chat.
Hmm.
So look for maybe some more content covering some of this stuff in the coming months. But before we do that, we got to pay the bills, so to speak, the attention bills, as it were. And we are the First Last Nerdom on YouTube primarily at First Last Nerdom. You will always find us. We are up to what are we 417 and 250. So we crossed
Hmm.
that. We're probably going to be 252 by the time this one releases
Hmm.
in a while. I'll hand it off to you. What's this thing with Reddit here?
Yeah, go through the subreddits and find a subreddit that will have me, and I'll promote her stuff. Some of them get don't like us, and we'll remove our postings, but it's all for the promotion of different movies, and yeah, I see ourselves as there's a ton of movies out there, and a lot of times people have no idea what to watch, what not to watch, and I see us as a force of good that
Mhm.
pushes forth quality movies and hopefully
Yes.
encourage people to take a look at it. Maybe eventually people that watch us will come to trust us and trust our opinion. And if they're like minded, they might check it out. But yeah, this is a way to maybe hook some new viewers in. So if you come by us by way of Reddit. Hello, Reddit friends. And then I also promote us on X, formerly known as Twitter. But yeah, I'll post and let everybody know on there when a new video of ours is out, and also I'll post random things like yeah, Art holding my latest 4K release, which I'm the physical media guy, and then you're also on X as well.
I am ApeIt_Ink. You can find me there and all the things. Usually, me and Tom at least we'll have we'll have at least one or two things we'll try to find and share with each other. Also, wanted to plug a thing I got into, like just more of the lighter, cooler side of life. Whatever this talk show that I co-host with some other great friends that we come from, and just having a really good conversation, just mainly about current events and whatnot, but also available on ApeIt.Ink. That's the publication where I have longer form content. I haven't posted in there. Shame on me. I owe the world a warfare, maybe dissertation. I've seen it quite a number of times, and probably soon sinners as it's rolling through the neighborhood. But always and above board. First of all, we have this guy that's out here, and boy, you feel like by the time you get to the third one with this, you feel like you are weirdly not rooting for Art, but like I don't know. It's a very
You want to know what that scamp is up to next?
it's a
What's it gonna do?
dysfunctional thing, and just to kind of lay the groundwork, I'm not going to go into the entire nuts and bolts of it, but essentially now we have a reoccurring person here. We have Sienna Shaw and her brother, and they're trying to
Jonathan.
rebuild
Yeah.
what little of a life. This reminded me of so many of the movies that we've covered or watched, of like kind of just from how certain characters are kind of tilted up
Mhm.
and presented to you, because like there is like I feel like the best part I like about Terrifier is that it will absolutely steal something from another genre or a series or strain of movies, do it in a way to where you kind of recognize that from that other movie, but it does it in a way to like where you kind of forget about the other one. Because they do it so well, and they do this over and over. And I think that's what really got me in Terrifier 2 was like their just ability to just deconstruct these things and reconstruct them and have you still pay attention. And even the most gross, heinous parts, you can't help but like it's a very weird. There's a very weird chemistry between art and the audience. It's hard to put your fingers on, but I'll leave it there at a high level. But we get these wonderful Sierra, and she's a great actress too, by the way. I should put her Lauren LaVera, or hopefully I didn't butcher that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
hopefully, but yeah. So far we had Terrifier 1, which is your basic slasher movie, but is it really? Yeah, he does take his love of slasher movies and knowledge of slasher movies and kind of turns it on its head in Terrifier 1. It kind of breaks a lot of the rules. It kind of goes goes its own path. Without even having a final girl. Now, if you're watching Terrifier 3, our coverage, we're going to assume you've seen Terrifier 1 and 2, so there will be plenty of spoilers of those leading into this. We won't get into Terrifier 3 spoilers till later in the show, but yeah. So Terrifier 1, we get introduced to Art the Clown. There's no final girl really. There's there's one girl that sort of survives, but in a mangled sense, and maybe not really a survivor here. And at the beginning of the movie, it's foreshadowed that she's pretty messed up. And Terrifier 2 takes place right after Terrifier 1,
Right.
and like Mike says, we finally get our final girl. But he breaks the rules with this. She's not just your average teenager. She's blessed by these angels, whether or not they're angelic or the traditional,
A little bit more warmer side of that, where snowballs can't really go, maybe, Tom. But
yeah, but
we'll
yeah,
keep the
so
lid on
she's
that one for now.
yeah, exactly. So she's sort of the opposition to Art, and so we finally get this developing of a storyline where in mythology of Art has this nemesis, and so the ending is seeing ends up cutting off Art's head, and but the pale girl escapes, and we see in the little teaser mid in credit roll, we see that Art may be coming back, and with the birth of his head, and so was it really Sienna a win for her, or maybe more of a stalemate? And so this third one takes place 5 years later. Everybody's a little bit older. I'm not sure if they're wiser, but yeah, they're still kind of in a holding pattern, both Art and Sienna, and something triggers Art to wake up. but yeah, the whole beginning section. Well, well, let's talk about the very first scene.
Christmas.
Very controversial. There's a lot of people walk out of the movie during that.
That's what I had read. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all. Like kind of like how I noped out on The Hills Have Eyes. Like I told you that story a number of times, but like
absolutely.
But I was a brand new parent, so like I mean, yeah, sensibilities
right.
where as you go. But I mean, again, yeah, it's over the top and gross, but again, it gets away with it. Like I don't, that's just like this, and the whole thing is like you're also in the back, and you have this weird fascination with Art, so you kind of stick around to kind of see a little bit more of what the hell is this? Like the first one was could have just been like this guy's just insane, whatever, but as it goes on, no, there's a little bit more there, especially toward like where you kind of again, these also end so well. I will say this: it's crazy how well they end, and this gives nothing away, but the way the first one ended, the way 2 ended, going on a little bit later on as we progress through the show here. But how it does it in another way.
Yeah, because a lot of
does it
them
itself, it does it
Yeah.
on its own terms, and for some reason you're still there for it.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of slasher movies, you have to have that one final scene where the bad guy comes back. You get the hand coming out of the grave or whatever, and a lot of times they elicit maybe a groan from the audience that are used to that. And obviously Damien knows that, and so he really challenges himself to come up with a really interesting rebirth scene, if that's required, or whatever's required to end this thing. He knows he has to really have to really punch it up and not, leave the audience with just kind of a groan or a whimper. You really got to get them pumped up for that next installment.
Yeah. He again, it does it. I just had my thought on. I found it in my notes, but I can't find it again. But it reminded me what you said triggered me, so to speak. But he does it so well with the other thing too, that's right, Christmas, right? So like we we keep doing this dance with these things, and it's just very interesting how it layers in as you get to learn more about these characters and kind of their lore or their backstory, like the gentleman sitting behind you.
I didn't even notice him there.
Holy cow! Yeah,
He's just chilling. Yeah, he might get a little closer later, but yeah, so yeah, this time he tackles Christmas, and yeah, it's if he had done Halloween again, it would have probably kind of wore thin, because I think he got all of the scares and things he wanted to get out of Halloween in the second one. The first and second movie were really kind of a combination together. It's sort of like you couldn't have one without the other, whereas this one's a kind of a true sequel. The first two were kind of intermeshed with each other and really could be considered like one full storyline. In fact, they kind of overlap in different ways. Whereas this one is definitely definitely a sequel, although it begins with the kind of a flash forward. Again, sort of a little vignette where Art visits a family a few days before Christmas, and the little girl thinks Santa showed up because Art's kind of got some new threads.
right.
But yeah, Damien Leone, the director and writer of this, his favorite Christmas horror story is the one that Tales from the Crypt did. I forget the name of the Tales from the Crypt episode, where there's a psycho killer that dresses up as Santa Claus that shows up. But yeah, so he was kind of inspired by that, and I'm sure that opening segment was definitely somewhat inspired by that. But yeah, it's insane how well Damien does well with kids in his movies. He really knows how to get an interesting performance out of them, and also he knows how to treat them. And he knows that we have a heightened sense around kids. In horror movies, that's the two things you don't kill are the kids and the animals. And
Right.
in this movie, he breaks those rules, but he does it in a way that isn't exploitative. The two kids that well, I'll pose the question to you. The one of the kids definitely gets killed, the little boy. You get here at off stage. He did get the sound designer from I think a lot of big movies. He did Pan's Labyrinth and a few other movies.
Right.
The guy wanted to work on the movie, so um, that scene where Art goes into the little boy's room, it just sounds so wet and visceral in that room. So it's maybe even worse than if maybe you see it, but
Yeah,
but maybe not. You just kind of
well,
see the aftermath.
again, okay. So this movie or this series is all about, you know, over the top gore and whatnot. Right, you be full frontal, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. So when it would do what a normal, you know, horror movie or even slasher would do, like where the killing is off scene, you know, even when it does it, it does it in such a unique way to like where you're right. It's almost even worse because you have the theater of the mind, and it's tough, even though you're not there, you know. I mean, so, you know, it's just like very again, when it takes something else or it does it in its own way, and every time it does it's more, you don't question it. It's just part of what you get. But although you're shocked, you know, like, oh my
Yeah.
God,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
the nihilism is just like whatever art want. I mean, it's just like it's a art's playground. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
what this is, you know. But
Yeah.
we get kind of a little bit of a counter, you know, as the story develops, you know, here. But
Yeah, and
and
then
nobody walks away without a scratch. That's just not
oh
happening
yeah.
in any of this shit. Yeah.
Yeah, even Art gets a few scratches, but yeah, that Tales from the Crypt episode I was thinking of was All Through the House. So if you want to check that out, it's also adapted from a Tales from the Crypt comic strips or comic book story. So definitely check that out. But yeah,
What was it called?
and
Real quick.
Tales from the Crypt, All Through the House. But yeah.
Thank you.
Classic episode of that series. Yeah, and if you're a younger audience member, I know we tend to skew towards the more older crowd. But if you're young and haven't seen any episodes of Tales from the Crypt, it's an old HBO series that is definitely worth checking out, based off the old comic book strip by EC Comics. There's a whole different yeah, those comics are classic as well. But yeah, and all that stuff, all of this is all in the ether that inspires Damien, as well as all the horror fans. Terrifier is just the newest movie that is inspired by all of this cool stuff. And then there is plenty of Christmas horror movies to contend with. I think that's the outside Halloween. Christmas has the most horror movies as its theme. So Art has a lot of competition. So he had to come out guns a blazing, metaphorically and literally. But yeah, there's so it takes place 5 years later. Both Art and Sienna needed to recoup. After the little intro at the beginning of the movie, we jump back 5 years to Art being spawned out of Vicky. Vicky, who's in a sane asylum. That's quite insane.
Yeah.
A criminal insane asylum. But yeah, she gives birth to Art's head. Which is kind of fortunate that the movie Malignant came out during when Terrifier 2 came out, because originally Art was going to come out of the side of her head and destroy Vicky, so kill her off. And the that movie Malignant did a similar gag, so to speak, where the creature comes out of the side of someone's head in that movie. Very similar. So they had to scrap it. They had filmed it, so they had to scrap it and redo it, where she gives actual birth to Art's head.
Right.
And so that allowed Vicky to survive and run amok in this movie. I don't know. I kind of like the Pell Girl a little bit better than Vicky. Maybe it's
I
more visually pleasing. I don't
I'm
know.
not sure. I don't know how to answer that one. I like both, but I will say that like, okay, Another thing this thing does really, really well is it's strange enough. It does two birds with one stone, which is, and again, going back to the endings of each one of these going in, it knows how to do a clean ending, right? But
Yeah.
it always has that question tucked in there. You know what I mean? And the only thing this one does versus the other ones are somehow get you to ask way more questions than you get answers to as you progress through, not even to the very end, but just like that, like of course they're gonna and then you have this other layer too that is kind of melded in, like where if any one of these people came back in a certain kind of
variation, yeah.
yeah, oh, I don't want to spoil anything, but like in a certain kind of vein, you would not question it whatsoever. You would be like, oh, that makes sense, because you're realizing, this Art the Clown guy obviously is not, something else is going on here. Like somebody's paying a price, or somebody is, and you can't help but be intrigued by it and get the mythology is pretty good. Like if this were even an inch tacky, none of this would fucking work at all. But it does because it just does. I don't know how to put it like that, but
Yeah.
that's why you keep taking it more, seriously as you even though it's ridiculous and like you see fucking grotesque, things. Like anyway,
absolutely. Yeah, and I absolutely love the look of the movie. It just sort of takes the look of the previous two,
right,
and amps it up. It really had that kind of grainy, gritty sort of grindhouse sort of look to it. It looks like it could have been shot in the late 70s or early 80s. It also was widescreen. A much bigger widescreen than the previous two. I think Damien said he wanted to give it a more of a kind of a John Carpenter horror movie kind of vibe to it, doing it in widescreen like that.
Well, again, and there's nothing wrong with the first one or the second one at all for quality, but this one is like light years, like way ahead. You're cracking the boomer juice, yeah,
boomer juice.
Yeah,
I have a little bit of frog in my voice, and to get rid of that, good. It's monster,
yeah, and it's so weird too. You mentioned this, that it has a kind of a vibe of like the older, 70s or 80s maybe kind of feel, if not a Carpenter kind of esque feel, but the first one also kind of did that, smartphone, modern. You can tell it was in the future, in modern day, or presumably modern day, because it did the phones really well and tastefully. It's like where they didn't really matter. They were just kind of like there, but it worked, just like it did for that era, like it does too. Like it makes it feel a certain kind of a way like that it is. But anyway, Terrifier 3 is an evolution above the other two. You can see them getting progressively better with more resources like that just fucking pay off. just to be blunt.
Everything everything's an improvement. The writing, the acting, they got some actual outside of Terrifier 2, they had Chris Jericho, but everybody was sort of unknown actors, whereas this one has a few known actors, a lot of horror veterans like Clint Howard. It was nice seeing him pop up. Ron Howard's brother, Clint, he pops up in my favorite scene where Art is introduced to Santa Claus.
Right.
I love Art, because you don't get this in other slasher movies. You don't get Freddy Krueger just showing up somewhere at a bar or at a school or something. He means business. He's not goofing around. And Michael Myers, he stays in the shadows. But with Art, it's not unusual to maybe see a clown out in the wild. So everybody doesn't go running screaming as soon as they see him. He plays the little bit of a scamp. He plays it up that he's innocent, and there's nothing wrong with me.
Well, the funny part, and I commented this on the first one, I don't I kind of touched a little bit when we talked about the second one too, but Art has this very weird like proclivity to like when he wants to dominate the area, like he literally wants to be able to come and go as he pleases.
Mm-hmm.
If not anything else, than to like, you know, it's not something that's blatant, but it's an extra layer of brutality that basically, as soon as this dude steps on the scene, you're not going anywhere, or you're not going to go anywhere that he doesn't want you to go, or where he doesn't want to prey upon you, essentially is what happens. Like,
yeah,
you know, you're all fat, you know, ducks getting ready to get carved up, essentially. Like that's what, and he, the way that he would just go in and out of people's personal space, like in the first movie, like on that, when they were doing the thing, like when he just showed up, and then, you know, you also saw that he was about other ways of making life hell for people, like when it comes to bodily functions. But
yeah, you'd almost the way how he acts kind of goofy. You, much like the people in the movie, will underestimate him. He does know how to figure things out, and he knows how to strategize. Like the scene in the bar. Yeah, you do have this funny scene where he's excited about Santa Claus, but as soon as businesses needs to be taken care of, he knows with three grown men, even though he does seem to have superhuman strength, he is a bit outnumbered. So he pulls out a gun to take care of the majority of them, and
totally
then
fine with it.
yeah. So he knows what weapon and what device is needed for each situation. He does seem to have a plan for every situation.
Right there.
And he does like playing with his victims or food. So he does tend to nibble on people, but yeah, I did enjoy a lot of the references to previous horror shows and movies. Like I said, the Tales from the Crypt, but also at the beginning when him and Vicky find a house to kind of hang out at for the next 5 years. He goes up to the attic, and I loved how the window looked much like the Amityville Horror House's window. But then he sat in that rocker chair, and that brought me right back to Black Christmas, one of the movies we covered. There's a
that's right.
That's a very much a reference because the 5 years later he's got all those cobwebs hanging off of him, much like the one of the victims in Black Christmas. She's kind of stored away in a rocking chair up in the attic. It really brought those vibes. I was like, oh wow, okay, we're really in this. And then later there's a scene that both Psycho and Texas Chainsaw Massacre both were inspired by the serial killer Ed Gein, and Art was able to pay tribute to both of those in a shower scene with a chainsaw that just really mashes things up, and in a wonderfully gory, bloody thing that doesn't take away from either, that kind of reinvents the chainsaw and how things happen in that.
Yeah, you could say that. No, when gore and whatever he is the absolute Picasso of gore art, you know, like murdering. Murdering.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I keep jumping ahead, but so Art's sort of hanging out, and then Sienna, the reason why they're kind of in kind of in purgatory or limbo is because Sienna is in the is in a mental institution as well for the past 5 years. So I guess Art decided he couldn't get in there, and so they kind of lights out for him for a little while, and then with the movie kind of begins with also Sienna being released and going to her aunt and uncle's to stay. So when she's released, something gets triggered in Art to reactivate and maybe have their own kind of reunion with her. And both, so she's been in a mental institution, and Jonathan, her brother, finished high school and is beginning college, which kind of figures out, I guess they said he was 12 in the Terrifier 2, so that would make him right around 17 here, maybe a little bit older. So that kind of works out. And so he's got a. What I liked was that his roommate kind of goes against type. He was, in all other horror movies, he'd be sort of the jock bully type that would kind of push Jonathan around. But in this one, he's much more sort of the 2020s sort of new age kind of guy that's more in touch with his feelings and much more more on Jonathan's side on this. It was kind of refreshing seeing that they didn't go straight to the bully. His girlfriend that's the podcaster, much like ourselves, is more of the bully in this movie. She kind of plays the bully. I kind of with technology and keeping up with the times. This movie does have a podcaster there, and I'm sure it's maybe poking a little bit of fun at true crime podcasters.
God.
But yeah, that was kind of a fun angle to see this movie take.
Sorry, I had a bug on that screen. It's driving me nuts.
Killed the bug.
Well, it's murder. I just have to, this. It's an infection.
Yeah, art's inside you as well.
You said there are no gentle scenes in this movie from the start to finish. Whether it's the family that gets it, the whole, sets up and the other thing too, like you were saying a little bit more into that about the aesthetics of it. It is a lot of red and green, and there is extra red, but there's also the snow, and the color schemes, like somehow this guy was able to make blood, like you're not even questioning like with it, but
yeah, I was kind of interested. I was kind of the whole Jonathan and Sienna brother sister relationship kind of turns on its head on this one, because in the Terrifier 2, Jonathan was the one, kind of going out there saying, art is real, and Sienna was the one trying to keep him grounded in reality. No, this, it's all in your head. And in this one, it's sort of reversed. Jonathan's kind of forced himself to live in the real world and try to force himself to face everything. And Sienna's still very much in her head, reliving the tragedy, and isn't ready to let any of that go yet. And so Jonathan kind of takes the role of the voice of reason, and Sienna's the one warning everybody about Art the Clown coming back. And of course, like the previous movie, no one listens to the person shouting out.
Well, she did contact her brother in panic, so
Yeah.
what she sees is Art's return. And there also is there is wanton death and destruction in this too. Like those one you mentioned, the one where the killing was off scene and it was like the boy or whatever, but there's also like the mall or whatever, and that explosion. I mean, it's just it would be funny to do like a death. I'm sure somebody's done it, did a death count, on the screen, while you're watching or reviewing it. It would be hilarious, but you're set up with how they chase each other too a little bit. and you had mentioned Victoria. Well, I mean, what did you think about her coming, as far as as we progress through the storyline?
Yeah, it's as far as his sidekick.
Yeah. I'm trying to step around spoilers here a little bit.
She's interesting. Yeah, their dynamic is fascinating. There's a scene early on where some guys that were coming to fix up or demolish the house that they're the abandoned house that they're staying at. And she gets a little overexcited, maybe a little sexually, and that was kind of odd, because previously Art had never his kills were never sort of the perverted sexual kind. He's just killing just to kill. And then she kind of tries to bring it in, and Art kind of goes, no, no, no,
Right.
and directs her away from that stuff. So yeah, he's not having that. And, his is just kills.
Right. Well, it's just funny how his interaction with her, with Victoria, or Sienna, like there's this weird, dance there that's going on. Anyway, I don't want to.
Absolutely, yeah. It's
Like,
it's odd, and
it pulls you in again. Like that's kind of, I guess that's my point. Is like it continues to pull you in.
Right, it's not it's something different. A lot of the slasher
Yeah.
movies, it's all usually slasher movies kind of play on the base emotions of people, and you kind of know you're triggered in. You kind of know what's going to happen and why. Whereas in this movie, there's that question of why,
Right.
because Art isn't really going about things. His motivations aren't totally clear. They're becoming clear. We know that Sienna is his focus, and he's killing and destroying the things around her and the people around her, to kind of strip away all of her hold to this world. And so yeah, but yeah, it's fascinating that the reason why he's doing the things he does, was a mystery, and you're kind of building up to what's going on.
Kind of
um
understanding it a little bit. Like,
yeah.
well, that's what it dawned on me too. I was talking with a coworker about modern entertainment and Star Trek or whatever, and the soap operas back, the Guiding Light and Days of Our Lives. There are aspects of this that are very much like a soap opera, like that keep compelling you to be drawn in. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just such a bizarre horror, gore splattered soap opera. It's what you're getting pulled
Yeah.
into. And you can't help but, like, I don't know what it is, but it
Mhm.
perfectly pulls you in.
Yeah, and where in a normal slasher movie, you would have your fresh batch of fresh face teenagers, that that the killer would demolish. Whereas in this series, especially with this third movie, you do get a few new faces, but you're you're instantly worried about them, because you realize that there's sort of a backstory already. With most slasher movies, when you get this fresh batch of teenagers, they're cannon fodder. You don't get attached to them. Most of them are going to die off, if not all of them. There's going to be a final girl. The plot. Whereas in this one, Sienna comes back home to her aunt and uncle that are taking her in with her niece Gabby, and you instantly kind of like this family. Gabby's a little annoying, but annoying as a kid that age is sometimes. But you instantly these people are dear to Sienna, that she loves these people. So you instantly kind of bond with them, and that things may be bad happening to them soon. And there's that instant oh no, you instantly kind of attach to them, but then not then you've played into the trick of Damien, Leone, the director. He's roped you in. He's got you hooked, and you don't want nothing to happen to him, but it's going to happen to him.
As you progress through the storyline in the movie, you get more progressively, you get pulled more toward that toward the supernatural side of the house, like where it's
Right.
like it's just more mystical and mystery. But it opens up the door, and of course, you have the natural dichotomy of Christmas and this
Yep.
this perverse festival, like that is like a blasphemy to the whole point of Christmas, whatever. But
Right.
again,
Yeah.
it's layered in. It's not. It does it in such a soft way, like you don't even realize it until it's like right there. Like, oh yeah, like all this other stuff is going. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's got that that heaven and hell kind of, that
Yeah,
dichotomy.
and it's also very slowly kind of building up Sienna's character and her mythology as well. The mascot at Jonathan's college is a knight, which I'm sure that wasn't wasn't unintentional. And also,
Oh, that's
Sienna
right.
has a dream about an angel and a demon making armor, and is that armor for her? Question mark.
Right.
Was that inspired by seeing a knight at his school, or is this a foreboding of what maybe is to come, which isn't delivered in this movie, but maybe in the next installment. I also loved Art making a little blood angel. That was very very nice. I
Oh,
said that that shower scene. Well, the movie they used 55 gallons of blood, and 20 of it was used in the shower scene, which. If you want a bloody scene, that's right there for you.
oh
but
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, there's no sparing the none of it. None of it. You're you well that goes back also to the practical effects of like how well, Damien does, he understands what's going on. He knows how to do that with like no money, and he knows how to make it happen with like millions. So I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, and he
that's
said,
off, like master of his craft. Like
mhm,
he's already proved it. Like he's a 3-time world champion at this point with
right,
this. Going into a inevitable Terrifier 4,
mhm,
but maybe we'll get there. We are about we're about 45 minutes into the thing. So
yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely. Yeah, the first two, he said that at the most there was 5 people on set at any given time, whereas this one, it was getting to like a proper crew. They had like 12 at any given time. So, which he handed off the duties of a lot of the makeup and special effects to two different was special effects to two different teams. So he wasn't as hands on in that as previous films, which I don't see where I didn't see a significant difference in quality, or style. Very reminiscent of the first two movies, so they did a wonderful job of keeping it the same. There was a on the 4K I was watching, Damien, there's a behind the scenes where someone was doing up the makeup on Art the Clown, Howard David Thornton, and and Damien kind of looked and kind of went, "Ah," he goes, "Man, I'm usually there doing that," which you could probably. I'm sure it kind of takes a little bit of weight off of him, but I'm sure he also misses being as hands on as he it was in the other two movies. But like I said, the quality of the special effects in this one wasn't diminished in this one by handing it off. It was like you said, it's a bigger movie, a lot more stuff going on,
well,
and he kind of probably had to hand off some of it off to other people.
Well, I mean, you start with the 35,000 micro budget,
Mhm.
ridiculous, not even air for like what they would pay the caterer, for like what probably not even probably triple that to a $2
Yeah.
million third installment, that grossed, 90, $100 million. That's
Mhm.
crazy. That you might want to say that Damien knows what he's doing. Like,
Yeah.
and you could only imagine what that would mean for a Terrifier 4. And again, the way that these things end, it ends cleanly in a weird way, like for a slasher, so to speak, but its own version. At this point, it's its own genre almost.
Yeah.
Weirdly, but it leaves you there, and it still has a lot of like, but what about 10 things. um
Yeah, and just to jump back to the ball scene with the kids and Santa,
mm,
another favorite scene of mine, Art handing out the presents, but yeah, there's a guy on the news, eyewitness, and that was Tom Savini, the legendary special effects artist that
mm,
that inspired Damien Leone. It was great seeing Tom Savini. I'm sure everybody that was in the know that saw him were like, ah, that guy. But yeah, the also Damien talked about filming that scene, and he was very cognizant of the kids on the set, and he knew probably the parents probably didn't want him to be around art as as little as possible. Whereas he filmed it in a way that the kids didn't have to interact with art, as they did it as little as possible. However, the kids were very excited about Art the Clown, and they were constantly asking, "Where's the clown? Where's the clown?" And the actor David Howard Thornton, he's a voice actor as well, in a lot of kids programs, so he knows how to do voices and entertain the kids. So he was very good with the kids, Damien said, and the kids loved him. They loved Art the Clown. So, and oddly enough, I saw in the trivia on IMDb when Terrifier 3 was out in the theaters. The Pixar movie Wild Robot got a bump in sales, and it was kind of thought that a lot of the kids were buying tickets to the Pixar animated movie and sneaking into Terrifier 3.
Really, very interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can see
which
that.
makes sense.
Yeah,
That
no,
makes
it does.
sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and also Damien also said that after Terrifier 2's big success, a lot of the studios approached him about doing a bigger budget for Terrifier 3 and doing it with them. However, he had already kind of set up the money for Terrifier 3 and decided to do it independently, mainly because he wanted the integrity to stay true, for it to be unrated. And also he knew none of the studios would allow him to do that opening scene like he wanted to do.
Oh, you're right. No, they would not have let that.
Yeah,
They would
that's
have
what.
they would have forced him to cut to
Yeah.
and then he would have been forever at war with them, and then we would have got the shitty movie that they wanted instead of what it would be
Yeah.
his true vision, and he obviously has that in spades. So
Yeah, and the only stipulation that Cineverse, which he shot the movie for, Cineverse, the only requirement was that it be under 2 hours, and he didn't quite get that. He got it down to 2 hours and 5 minutes, but
not bad though.
but
It
yeah,
goes along very nicely.
yeah. I think the pacing in this one's much better
Right.
than the second one.
Yeah,
The second
kind of
one was pretty solid up until the end. I think the ending could have been maybe edit. I don't know how you would have done it. I'm not an editor, but it felt a slight bit clunky at the end. But just with all the scenes in the Terrifier carnival ride. But this one, yeah, the pacing on this one was solid from beginning to end. Very, very solid.
right. Where are the glasses?
Also,
Fascinating.
this movie had a abundance of Christmas music. You also had a Art the Clown inspired Christmas song at the end there.
Right.
That was quite enjoyable. But again, it didn't have as quite as much synthwave music as the previous movie. I didn't notice,
Mm.
but I don't think it really needed that. I the music wasn't as present as maybe the previous movies. I did like the interspersing of the Christmas music. Much like Quentin Tarantino knows, if you put in a kind of a contrasting kind of upbeat song that you wouldn't expect to be in the scene, oftentimes elevates that scene to a level that wouldn't have been there if you'd have put in a track that would that the audience would expect. It just kind of brings it to a different level. And I think a lot of the Christmas music, even though the Christmas spirit isn't really quite in this movie, also there's going to be the debate: is this a Christmas Christmas movie? Obviously, it's a Christmas movie, but in people say, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Blah blah blah. You know, I don't really get into that stuff. A Christmas movie has the spirit of Christmas to it. I don't really see Die Hard having the spirit of Christmas in it. This movie doesn't really have that. This isn't going to be the one I pull off the shelf to watch on Christmas Day. It's going to be something different. Maybe leading up to it, definitely. But maybe if you're in a little darker mood. But
I think that's more of like a popcorn points kind of thing, like thing. But and it's of course it's always fun to go back and watch old movies and stretch the definition of whatever just as an excuse to watch it, which is the best reason ever to watch a movie for whether it's this one, this is your horror Christmas if you're not expert, then this one is going to be probably higher up on your list. But it is newer too, which would surprise a lot of people, I think, because you just don't get that so much with newer things anymore. But the fact that this was independent and he got to do his vision of it, he just shows like
you
pretty damn
for so
talented.
for so many years you hear these writer directors complain that their horror movie got neutered, or with that movie, the classic movie that we both love, Possession, got butchered in the US. And when they edited that movie, it made it into this mess of a nonsense movie, just because they just didn't understand what they were getting at in that movie. It's very hard for a horror director back in the day to get their vision up on the screen without the interference of a studio either messing with it on the creative level while they're filming and not hampering the vision that way, or in then the final cut, the editing, them kind of neutering or destroying the movie, just so it would get a R rating from the ratings board. Whereas this movie didn't have to worry about that. They released it unrated, and from what I read, it's the biggest box office for an unrated movie at a time when no one's going to the movie theater, so to speak. It's amazing that this movie was was able to blast it out of the gates. And there was Terrifier 2 was big at the theater, but this was even bigger. Like we're talking about, it made 90 million. And as we've become fans, I think just after every movie that comes out, they get bigger fans. So I expect the fourth one to be even bigger than the third movie. And from what I've read, Damien keeps kind of flip-flopping between there being two movies left or one movie. I think he's settled on with I think in January he said the fourth will be the final film for him. So, and we'll get all the backstory, we'll get everything revealed, backstory from Art's creation. So I can see this as a big blowout movie,
Well, it's
pull
gonna
out all the stops.
it's gonna do well no matter what. And that
Mhm.
the only thing I ask is that it's what he wants. So whatever the man
Absolutely.
wants, he just has a very good way of balancing all these aspects. And to make its own horror grindhouse modern,
Mhm.
but with modern production values, and this mythology that also, hey, it's kind of interesting. That's kind of those two things that go last beyond just the shock value, just the
Mhm.
shock and awe, like just like
Mhm.
over the top. It has a way it does it economically, but gratuitously, but
Yep.
crazy.
Oh, and let's get into a little bit of spoilers. Those that have stuck with us. If you haven't seen it
The
yet,
hour mark, spoiler, spoiler, spoiler.
so dip out if you don't. Art says to watch the movie. So, but yeah. Oh, question. Let's reel it back to the beginning of the movie. Did Art kill the little girl? Do you believe he killed her?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't doubt it. I just have a natural assumption that, like, that's it. That's curtains. And if he didn't, it's going to come back in another kind of way that is related to the supernatural, the heaven or hell, the agent of hell of some kind or whatever, to
It kind of
possess
remind me.
Kira's, like, that's kind of the thing of, like, her soul is like the for whatever reason that is Art's mission or goal. I don't know, inadvertently, weirdly. But also there's Victoria, which is also kind of pulls it off in another way too. But
she's sort of kind of the voice of the demonic realm. But yeah, so that scene kind of reminded me a little bit of the movie that triggered you, The Hills Have Eyes, when these killer cannibals have killed everything, and then there's the baby that's left. Is it worse for them to just go ahead and kill the baby, or take it to raise it as one of their own? It's sort of like so you're kind of left with that kind of thought, what if Art kind of took her under his wing, but
yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and another question, is Jonathan dead?
I think so. Like, if not, then it's going to be, like I said, some weird victim corpse.
I don't think he's dead. I don't think
you
he's
don't
dead.
Think so?
He wanted Sienna to believe he's dead. That's why he put the glasses on him. But we didn't see the kill, so unless we see the kill, I don't buy it. So I have suspicions. Yeah.
Well, see, that just goes back to the point that I was making before about how it will do what other movies do, but in its own way. Like, again, like it'll reverse engineer it, and then it'll still end up being an ape on that one, but it'll work. Like, that's what. So even more that you read more into it than I do, like, which is crazy, like that. But now that does make sense. I just assume everybody's just, like I said, Art shows up, you're not getting out alive.
I could see Jonathan showing up at the third act in the fourth movie.
Sure.
Maybe as an evil influence, to maybe try to take Sienna out towards the end. I don't know. That's sort of just my spitballing kind of imagination, but yeah, I see him coming back in some form or the other in the fourth movie, which should be interesting if he does. But yeah, that's the cool thing about this series is you could speculate about these things, and there's enough meat on the bone for you to actually think about it and kind of speculate.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. You take a wild shot in the dark here. We've watched series of movies that were about this moment, but, like, who's to say that Sienna isn't somehow related to the Antichrist or something, some kind of, like, penultimate evil or something, who knows, or whatever,
right.
Or
well, she does wear the crown of thorns. She does have,
like,
she's
maybe
kind of Christ-like.
maybe she is, or the opposite, not the Antichrist, but like the Messiah or something like that, or some savior of some kind or whatever. Who knows? But you would not question it if that were the case, and there's enough from Terrifier 3 to be, woven into Terrifier 4 for however that. Well, despite our speculations, Tom's probably more on the money than I am. But if I were to guess, I would put money on yours, not mine. But but
well, there's there's a lot of Christ imagery in the
there is
final thing. You have the crucifixion with a blasphemous crucifixion with the the roommate's body being nailed to the wall, and then you've got the crown of thorns that they put on Sienna, which Vicky was wearing. And then also Art bashes, they give her a present to open, and they bash her hands, much like putting nails through her hands,
Interesting. I didn't get that makes sense. Well, the chainsaw scene, it was like the school's logo was in the back, like it was like they're like a communion cup and crucifix. Yep, there it is, right there.
Yeah, and so there's the like the Holy Grail, and then whatever. but yeah, and then so yeah, the cup, and then their mascot being the knights.
Mhm.
You've got a lot of symbolism there, I'm sure. And then I'm sure they were putting the crown of thorns on her head, to maybe demoralize her and to cause pain on her. But is that doing the opposite? In the second movie, he tries to kill her with her own weapon, the
Right.
sword, but she can't be killed by her own weapon. And actually, that kind of
Wow.
resurrects her. Whereas in this movie, she's resurrected yet again. You saw that, her hands being reformed. I also, since we're in spoilers, was there not like a piece of furniture, broken furniture, she could have used as opposed to the sword to try to help Gabby up? Holding that blade. That was one of those
I
scenes
well,
that.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I know
I
why
mean,
they did that. So
we're
Gabby has that sword in
I,
the
I mean, we're
underworld,
already
but
yeah, we're already talking about like some supernatural powers here, that would superpowers essentially, like,
Mhm.
and then the sword too, it's just like it's a magic fucking. I mean, you don't doubt any of these things. It's like, wait, what? That's a magic sword. How does that work again? But you go with it because it makes sense because you already saw this clown slaughter like
Right,
like
and it all
a
makes
quarter
sense
of a
within the
town,
world. Yeah, yeah. There's yeah, as
and that's not
the
even
thing.
counting the weird shit either. Like that's just the killing.
Yeah, yeah. No, the audience will play along with you as long as you keep your mythology straight. As long as you don't throw in a monkey wrench into the
Right.
deal or go out of left field and take the audience out of it. As long as you're playing along, and kind of building the story, they're gonna stay with you. We stayed very much with them. We also got a little bit of a little history with Sienna and her dad, which I was kind of surprised. I didn't recognize him,
Right.
but it was played by Jason Patric, her dad.
Oh,
There's a flashback where he does the portrait of the character that Sienna would become, the warrior princess. But Jason Patric, which last year we did Lost Boys. He's the
we did.
Lost
Holy
Boys.
shit! Yeah.
Yeah, he was. I had to go back and look at it, and it's like, yeah, that is Jason Patric. He's got the very much the dad vibes going.
Right.
But yeah, great actor. I hope there's a lot of interesting things going on with that character, the dad, dad Michael Shaw, in these series. I hope he comes back for the fourth movie, either in more flashbacks or you know I I know it seems like they're gonna, obviously, Sienna's gonna go into the underworld hell or whatever to maybe save Gabby. Maybe we'll see more of Michael and, like I said, Jonathan.
Well,
um
I also I wonder if they don't do Doom, like some kind of an homage to Doom, kind of like kicking ass, going in the pit of hell. I would
Mhm.
be. I wonder. Well, I'll have to. Well, see, this is what happens. It draws you in, and you're like, well, okay, well, now maybe I'll actually have to go to the theater to see it. Like,
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
yeah,
Both me and you will be in the theaters for
uh,
this fourth
I
installment.
I can guarantee you, whenever that occurs, I have no idea,
Hmm.
but and we'll probably get to the extra links here in a minute, but yeah, yet again another layer to pull you in, right? So like that's the whole point.
Absolutely.
Which is like you don't wouldn't see, but you can't help but want to look and see more.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it ends with Art getting on the bus, and there's a lady reading
With them.
a
Yeah.
novel. The picture of the author on that book is actually a picture of the makeup artist that has worked on it
Oh, that's
for the
cool.
previous movies.
That's neat.
I think her name's Olga something, but the bus driver is the producer. He also does second unit directing. He's sort of Damien's partner in crime. I think he helped fund the first movie, Phil Falcone. So that was fun. When I first saw the movie, I didn't know anything about the inner workings of the movies, but I knew that that guy probably had to be somebody, you know, somebody within. And sure enough, it's one of their producers. If you see any of the behind the scenes stuff, he's very prominent, and he actually that it was going to be very expensive to buy a pre-existing fish tank or something contraption in the second movie where Sienna gets plunged into that tank of water, and it, no matter what they did, it was going to be more than their budget would allow to get. And so Phil Falcone, him and another guy, went in and built that, engineered and built that tank to
cool.
put her in at a fraction of the cost, and so he was kind of saved the day on that. So yeah, it was kind of interesting seeing that. But yeah, like I said, this movie, usually when things get bigger and get more money, a lot of times they start losing the plot. Things sort of kind of get softened on the edges. However, this movie kind of goes against type. This, like I said, this series kind of breaks all the rules, you know.
Well, how many movies
in a
have
good
we?
way?
Yeah. Well, how many movies have we seen where you have something is really strong, but the other parts of it just don't quite hold up equal value? This somehow is a way to it balances itself with what it does.
Yeah.
To like where you get a good quality, opinionated horror genre that you see that is what it is.
Yeah, and I think the only thing that holds this series back is just the history of bad slasher movies. This movie kind of, I was kind of held back for the longest time because a lot of people love this movie, and but the people that love slasher movies are very forgiving, and they forgive all the maybe bad versions of different slasher movies. And so I tend to maybe not trust them completely. But it wasn't until a lot of the people that I trust their opinion on saying this is a great movie, this great series, that I finally kind of like, okay, I need to check it out, because there's been this history of sort of, especially with series, you know, franchises with various slasher guys, where you know it's just kind of bottom basement, you know, sort of movies. And this is something completely different, or maybe not completely different, but it takes those roots and makes them bigger than they are, you know, what they've been previously. And yeah, I just think that the history of slasher movies are uh, kind of propping these movies up, but also not fully showing what these movies can be or are, you know.
Right. Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah. But yeah, if you know, obviously we went through the spoilers, but yeah, if you've kind of held off on seeing these movies, definitely check them out. They're more than what
More.
they appear on the surface.
There is so much more to work with. I mean, maybe you get pulled in from another angle than how I did. I don't know. I think it's going to be unique to everybody and what they bring, especially if they. I will say, I don't. If you're not a horror fan, this is not the first one to come to. But if you
Right.
are, or if you have a strong, palate, do it. Come along. But I think that you'd be best served if you were a little bit more than just your first three horror movies they're they're in, but definitely showing up for Terrifier 4, hopefully in theaters, whenever it comes to us, but like not a
Yeah, I
moment
haven't
before
heard
Damien
an
is
official.
ready to release it, so totally on board.
Yeah, I'm not sure the official release date. I think the second one started filming in 2023 and came out in 2024. So either end of this year or sometime next year. Well, I'm
Right.
speculating that
Maybe
the
end of
fourth
next
one
year.
will come out. Um And then I asked Art the Clown when it was coming out, and he was very quiet about it. I don't know. He probably was told not to say.
That's funny.
So yeah, I think we're getting close to the end. But if you enjoyed this little series that we did, definitely check out our other stuff. Art tells you to like and subscribe, and click that bell for notifications, or he'll ring your bell. But yeah, he's kind of become our little mascot here.
Absolutely, yeah. We're gonna keep him on the payroll.
Yeah, he works for peanuts.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and you're at
and blunt instruments.
yeah, and you can always find Tom at the FirstLastNerdom, and you can also find myself, ApeIt_Ink, and as always, we are available 24/7, so to speak, in perpetuity. So many years after we're done with this thing, who knows when. What we are 417 now, and 251 when this gets released, and then, or 252 when this gets released, and then 251. So you can see what we thought about Terrifier 1, 2, and 3. Made it through the challenge, flying colors, more fascinated than anything else. But we are the last Nerdom.
Yep, and we may not be completely through with clowns. I haven't discussed it with Mike yet, so yeah, we may have a bonus round, or have another group of clowns to look at. So
oh yeah, you had a couple other things you wanted to plug though too, like, right? So
yeah,
before I almost forgot about that.
Yep. Ice Nine Kills. They worked with Art the Clown, and they've come out with when Terrifier 3 came out, they did a music video. So if you're dying for some more art, he shows up in the video. He does he has his own version of a mosh pit. So if you like sort of techno metal, I don't whatever version. Yeah, it's a handy little. It's a nice little tune. It also brings back the Clown Cafe singer from the second movie. You know, we all had to go to the Clown Cafe. She's back singing a little bit of segment in this movie, or this little video. And also their manager is played by the guy who played the Bernie in Weekend at Bernie's. There's a little slight nod to to his role in Weekend at Bernie's as sleeping, or is he dead, at the beginning when they were having a meeting with him. But but yeah, so that's something to check out. Also, I watched the movies on 4K. I got the big box set from Umbrella. They have a sale right now. They have some buy one get one free. So this is a little expensive, but you get like a really nice box set, a really sturdy box, and you get all three of the movies, plus All Hallows Eve, which is the anthology series where art first appears. You get a couple of posters, although those posters come folded up and in one of the movie boxes. So unfortunately, I'm not really thrilled about the posters because they're kind of folded up.
Right.
Much better if they were rolled up, but you know, you got them. And you get a few postcards, but you also get a hardback book. I think it's 120 pages or so. Lots of pictures, several articles. I haven't went through and read them all. I did read the interview with Damien, Leone. So it's a pretty solid for the price, $95. They are doing a sale. So, and also if you buy $140 worth of stuff, at least last time I did, you get free shipping. So there's probably a few other things that you could throw in your cart and have a great little present coming to you from Australia. Get it quick before they get some tariffs or whatnot. But yeah, definitely check it out. I will say that the first two movies had commentary by Damien. The third movie, unfortunately, does not have his commentary. One of the special effects guys does the commentary, and it's not very good. I didn't listen to it. Maybe if you're really into special effects, he gets into it. But from what I saw, he was pretty much just watching the movie and making comments every once in a while. And it was basically, since he wasn't involved in the filming the scenes except for the special effects, he really didn't have much to add. There is a half-hour interview with Damien, which was pretty good, and a few other behind-the-scenes videos that were entertaining. But the audio commentary on the fourth one's a little bit of a miss. So that's the only critique I'll give. But yeah, definitely worth checking out if you're a Terrifier fan and are into physical media or just now getting into physical media. This would probably be a very good set to start off with. The only problem is when the fourth movie comes out, you'll be tempted to buy another box set like I am. but yeah, or buy it solo. It's buying a box set before the series is complete is probably not the best idea, but I did it. And if you're like me and be like me, go ahead and do it. They also have some t-shirts, and if you want to get the individual movies on Blu-ray, I think the Blu-rays are on sale. So there you go. There's my my spiel and pitch for Umbrella, unpaid, but we'll give them a shout out. Yeah. Yeah. We're looking at you, Umbrella.
Well, I've been Mike,
Art,
and that's Art.
Yep, and I'm Tom, and Art decides to bypass his political commentary. He's in such a good mood; he doesn't want to get into politics today. So you know. He may go out and kill a couple of rats. Who knows?